Look in the mirror. When did you stop being the man she fell for? Not in a dramatic movie scene way. Quietly. Subtly. Almost unnoticeably. You started changing the moment you began needing her to approve of you. You started softening your edges so she'd stay. You laughed differently. Spoke differently. Even walked differently. You stopped being that calm, grounded presence, and became a man who hesitates before speaking, wondering if what he says will upset her. It happens slowly. You don't wake up one morning and say, "I'll lose myself today." You just start bending. A small compromise here. A silence there. A swallowed truth just to keep the peace. And piece by piece you hand away your power. At first it feels harmless. You tell yourself you're just being considerate, mature, understanding. But deep down you know it's not the same. Because once upon a time you moved with purpose. You had that quiet fire. You didn't need to prove anything to anyone, least of all her. She felt your presence before you spoke. She respected your silence because it came from strength, not fear. Now that silence feels heavy. Not strong, uncertain. You hesitate before answering her texts. You overthink before saying no. You check yourself before being honest. You call it love, but it's really a slow erosion of self. That's how it starts, not with rejection but with approval addiction. You start needing her validation to feel balanced. You stop doing things that used to light you up. You stop going places you loved. You stop hanging with people who made you feel alive. Your world shrinks to her reactions, her moods, her tone. And before you know it, her emotional weather controls your entire climate. She senses it long before you do. Women feel that shift. They can smell hesitation, weakness, self-doubt. She won't say it out loud, but she feels it in her body. The stillness that used to make her feel safe now feels empty. The confidence that used to draw her in has turned into caution. You don't lead anymore. You wait for her cues. And that's when she begins to pull back. Not dramatically. Not cruelly. Just subtly, a colder tone, shorter texts, less warmth. She's not punishing you. She's responding to something missing, that masculine gravity you once had. It's not about being dominant or controlling. It's about being centered, grounded, unshakable. When a man loses that, everything else starts to collapse. The relationship, the attraction, the respect, they all depend on that core stillness inside you. You can feel it, can't you? That quiet voice saying, "This isn't me anymore." The man who used to move through the world with purpose has been replaced by someone who waits for permission to exist. And the truth is, no woman can love that man, because that man doesn't love himself. So look in the mirror again. Don't see the version she molded you into. See the man you buried, the one who didn't chase validation, who didn't explain himself, who didn't flinch at silence. He's still there. Under the overthinking, under the fear, under the need to please. You don't need to create him again. You just need to remember him. You don't need to justify every pause or defend every choice you make. When you start narrating your life like a court case, you hand the jury the power to rule you out. Confidence doesn't live in elaborate explanations. It lives in short sentences, calm breathing, and a look that says you're fine whether she agrees or not. Think about the last time you typed a long paragraph to clear up a misunderstanding. You were trying to avoid a fight but ended up starting one with your own insecurity. A long message is often a confession. "I'm afraid of losing you." It reads less like clarity and more like begging. That tone kills attraction faster than rudeness ever could. Defense feels productive but it's hollow. When you preemptively justify, you make your value negotiable. You turn your truth into bargaining chips. A man who needs to be defended is a man who doesn't trust himself. Trust starts within. If you believe your choices are valid, you say them once and move on. No footnotes. No extra proof. Silence can be armor. Saying less forces other people to interpret you from who you are, not from what you say. It creates space for respect to grow because it shows you operate on a different level. You're not emotional scaffolding. You're a foundation. Foundations aren't explained, they're built. Stopping the defensive habit means resisting the itch to explain delays, absences, or mistakes. It means allowing ambiguity without panicking. You can be accountable without performing. Own what you did, deliver the consequence if necessary, and then return to your life. Nothing else is required. Practice compact speech. Replace paragraphs with single lines that land and close. Watch your voice steady. Allow pauses to breathe authority into your words. The fewer the words, the more weight each one carries. Use scarcity like a tool. Speak when it matters and let silence amplify the message. Avoid the trap of editing reality to make her comfortable. You are not a story tailored to someone else's taste. You are a whole person with tastes, limits, and rhythms. When you start trimming yourself to avoid friction, you lose the unique energy that draws people in. That energy doesn't come back when it's been sanded down for smoothness. When challenged, hold your center. Don't pivot your identity to accommodate someone else's doubt. If she questions your priorities, show them, don't rehearse them. Actions are persuasive in a way words never are. If your life reflects your values, you don't need to narrate them into existence. Remember, assurance is attractive, pleading is repulsive. People align with confidence, not explanations. If your sense of worth depends on external agreement, the power dynamic shifts away from you. Reclaim it by being economical with your speech and generous with your focus. Change starts small. Start by shortening your messages. Stop clarifying every feeling. Allow her to interpret you. Let her curiosity work for you instead of against you. The man who speaks less but does more is the one who gets remembered. That's the kind of presence no paragraph can manufacture. Keep a private standard. Live by it fiercely without explanations and watch how people respond to conviction. That quiet standard will separate you from the crowd. Rise for yourself, not for anyone's applause. You are not her emotional umbrella. You are a man with boundaries, and boundaries protect what matters. When her moods shift, don't rush to extinguish the flame. Hold your position. Let the weather pass around you while you keep building. Acting like her therapist trains her to rely on you for balance. That dependency kills your edge. Calm does not mean uncaring. You can listen without absorbing. You can offer steady attention without rearranging your life. Show empathy, not entanglement. When she vents, hear her. Don't fix her. When you provide solutions too quickly, you become predictable and lose intrigue. Solutions belong to problem solvers, not to anchors who remain unmoved. Emotional rescue creates a transactional dynamic. She learns she can escalate to get a reaction. That reaction used to be your strength. Now it's credit she draws on. Stop validating escalation. Respond from your center. If her anger is loud, keep your volume low. If her sadness wants to pull you under, hold the line and stay afloat. Practice self-reliance. Cultivate a daily life that can exist regardless of her current temperature. Commit to work, routines, friends, and goals that don't depend on immediate approval. The less your happiness relies on her state, the less tempting it is to chase every mood. Independence is magnetic because it signals emotional stability. Set clear limits in small ways. If she lashes out, refuse to be the punching bag. Walk away briefly. Re-engage when calm returns. If her habits disrupt your goals, state what you will and will not accept. Boundaries are not punishment, they are simple statements of who you are. Make them unshakable but not hostile. Do not confuse compassion with capitulation. You can care deeply and still insist on respect. Being compassionate is quiet strength. Capitulation screams insecurity. Be present when it matters, absent when it strengthens you. Absence here is not abandonment, it is a training tool that teaches consequences. Stop anticipating her next emotion. Stop preemptive appeasement. Predictability is the enemy of desire. When you constantly smooth the edges, you remove contrast. Let there be friction sometimes. Let her experience a world that doesn't revolve exclusively around checking her temperature. That friction will reveal whether she's with you for who you are or for what you provide emotionally. When she tries to manipulate with tears or silent treatment, maintain composure. Call it out calmly. Label the tactic and refuse to be pulled into a reactive loop. If manipulation continues, escalate boundaries. Consistency in response rewires expectations. She'll either adjust or reveal her priorities. Keep your emotional economy private. Don't broadcast how much her moods affect you. That currency is too valuable to spend recklessly. Preserve it for meaningful moments. Investing it everywhere means nothing will ever feel significant. Teach with your behavior, not with speeches. Show what steady masculine energy looks like by simply living it. When you don't fold, people notice. When you tolerate less, standards rise. Respect grows naturally from consistent conduct. In the end, stay anchored. Your calmness becomes the measuring stick in the relationship. If you lose that, you lose leverage, attraction, and direction. Be the man whose equilibrium is unshakable. That is the truth that keeps someone committed. Start small, hold firm, and let your consistent self draw respect back slowly now. You're confusing motion with meaning. Posting, texting, and grand gestures look busy, but they rarely change anything that matters. Performing is noise. Living your life is signal. If every move is made to pull attention, you become a puppet of reaction instead of a man with a pulse. Think about the last time you flooded her with messages after a cool down. What did you accomplish? You lit up her phone, not her respect. Urgency reads as panic. Panic is contagious and unattractive. Real presence arrives calm and intentional. It doesn't demand validation or applause. Stop treating visibility as value. Likes and replies are temporary. Consistent behavior is permanent. Build something the camera can't catch. Discipline, craft, real relationships, goals that take time. Those things accumulate weight. Weight creates pull. Pull holds longer than any one post. Mystery isn't manipulation. It's a byproduct of having a life that requires attention. When you're fully engaged with work, training, friends, and solitude, you stop responding immediately because you aren't always available. That unavailability isn't a game, it's a boundary. It forces people to observe instead of consume you. Unpredictability doesn't mean chaos. It means depth. Surprise her with competence, not with emotional theatrics. Show up at moments that matter because you chose to, not because you were panicked into showing. Let your choices be deliberate. When your actions come from will, they land with authority. There's a difference between being busy and being purposeful. Busy is scrambling to fill time. Purposeful is choosing where to place it. When you organize your hours around what builds you, your presence becomes a currency. People will start investing attention instead of extracting it. That shift changes the dynamic overnight. Quit substituting content for character. A man who posts his virtues is advertising them because he lacks them. Character is private until it's tested. When pressure comes, habits reveal yourself more than captions ever will. Cultivate routines that survive stress. That endurance will speak on your behalf. Silence gains power if you let it. Every moment you aren't explaining or performing, you allow space for curiosity. Curiosity is the engine of attraction. If everything about you is spelled out, there's nothing left to wonder. Create margins in your life where questions can grow instead of answers being handed out. Control your tempo. Decide when you'll respond, where you'll show up, and what you'll share. Speed is not a virtue. Thoughtful timing is. When you move with rhythm rather than reaction, people start to sync to you. Being the beat others follow is far more magnetic than chasing applause. Presence also means emotional availability on your terms. You can be solid and still be reachable for genuine connection. That distinction separates performative drama from meaningful closeness. Be there for depth, not for spectacle. Depth is rare because it's earned, not posted. Finally, understand that magnetism is a product of integrity. Show consistency between your words and your life. When you stop performing and start building, your energy changes. It becomes denser, truer, and more compelling. That's what makes someone unforgettable. Be that kind of man, not loud, not flashy, just gravitational. Small slights stack like sand until they bury you. Nobody notices a single grain. They notice the pile. A missed courtesy, a tossed comment, a flippant shrug. These are tiny concessions that slowly rewrite how you are treated. Respect isn't declared. It's earned in ordinary moments. It's the way you respond when interrupted. It's the boundary you keep when someone crosses a line. Allow the small infringements and you teach others that your limits are negotiable. Allow them enough and the big things start to crumble. Every time you laugh off a put down, you hand over status. Every time you swallow a correction to avoid a scene, you mark a new tolerance level for how people can speak to you. Respect is not retroactive. Once it slips, it's harder to retrieve than a lost reputation. Notice how little fights always start with small ignitions. A joke that cuts. A plan canceled last minute. A goal mocked with a smile. These moments feel harmless because they're short-lived. But they reveal what people believe about your worth. Treat these exposures as data, not an invitation to tolerate more. Defend your time. If someone cancels on you repeatedly, stop rearranging your life to fit their unpredictability. Protect your calendar like it's an asset. Show up for your priorities first. When others see you value your schedule, they begin to value it too. If they don't, their absence tells you what you need to know. Guard your voice. Don't let interruptions become habit. If you're talked over, pause, reassert your point, then move on. No drama. No moralizing. Clear boundaries are most persuasive when simple and calm. People respect men who speak with conviction and walk away with dignity. Small disrespect often hides behind humor. People use comedy to test how far they can push. If a remark lands and you smile to avoid conflict, you reinforce the punchline. Call it out with a calm line, not to shame but to mark your line. When jokes have consequences, they stop being weapons. Stand by your ambitions. When someone minimizes your goals, don't explain yourself. Show up twice as hard. Results are a reply that words can't match. Achievements shift the conversation from opinions about you to facts about what you've built. That's the kind of argument that ends debates. Practice quiet withdrawal. If you're repeatedly disrespected, reduce your engagement. Don't punish, reallocate. Spend less time where you aren't valued and more time where you are. Silence in the face of small slights is not weakness, it's economy. Energy spent on people who ignore your worth is wasted capital. Teach through consequence, not outrage. When a boundary is crossed, apply the smallest functional correction. Leave the room, cancel the next coffee, decline the last-minute favor. These moves are precise. They signal standards without theater. Calm correction rewires expectations faster than any explosion. Respect grows in steady soil. Tend it daily. Celebrate small wins where people do meet you halfway. Reinforce behaviors you want to keep. When someone respects your time, thank them and reciprocate. Positive feedback strengthens healthy patterns. Remember, dignity is quiet, consistent, and non-negotiable. You don't need to demand respect with volume. You demonstrate it with decisions. Small moments reveal character. Manage them well and you preserve your position. Ignore them and you watch your authority erode piece by piece. Choose where you stand. You built your identity around motion and approval instead of around direction. When that happens, love becomes a task rather than a landscape you inhabit. Stop measuring your value by reaction and start measuring it by what you create each day. A purpose is a compass, not a suggestion. It sets the course for small decisions, daily routines, and the person you are when no one watches. If your days are scattered and reactive, you will always be at the mercy of other people's moods. Fix your north and the rest aligns. Passion is contagious because it is unapologetic. Do the things that force you to rise before anyone notices. Let your work, training, or craft be the loudest proof of who you are. Quiet competence outlives dramatic statements. Results build reputation. Noise flies away. Don't outsource your meaning to a partner's approval. If you are defined by someone else's applause, you live in a rented life. By your own land. Own rituals that sharpen you. A morning practice, a weekly project, a recurring investment in skills that compound over months and years. Ambition is not a liability in relationships. It is an axis. A woman who loves a man for his focus will sit beside his drive, not replace it. Let your goals be irresistible because they are non-negotiable parts of who you are. Be someone who moves towards something, not someone who orbits someone else. Rebuild in public by performing better privately. Saturdays of progress are invisible until they become momentum. Show consistency over time. Make small sacrifices to your short-term comfort in favor of long-term stature. The compound effect of disciplined days rewrites how people see you. Stop explaining your process, show it. Speak less about plans and more about the steps you take. Action translates confusion into clarity. When the external noise rises, your steady output becomes the only credible argument you need. Surround yourself with accounts that add to your character, not drain it. Be in the company of people pushing toward excellence. Replace validation-seeking friendships with associations that elevate standards. Influence matters. Proximity to purpose rewires habits. Protect the hours that make you consequential. Guard deep work like a scarce resource. Fragmented attention produces a fragmented life. Concentrated effort produces results that force attention rather than beg for it. Value discomfort as information. Growing feels awkward before it feels natural. When you choose hard over easy, you recalibrate who you are. Pain that builds skill becomes a margin of safety that no relationship can remove. Lead with clarity, not control. Offer direction that invites rather than dictates. When you make decisions anchored in mission, people gravitate naturally to your steadiness. Leadership is an attractive discipline, not an entitlement. If you lose traction, course correct with curiosity. Audit your week, cut what distracts, and double down on what moves you forward. Small targeted shifts rebuild momentum faster than grand promises ever do. The man who becomes memorable is doing something important, consistently. He cultivates inner gravity through daily investment, not through frantic persuasion. Reclaim that posture and watch how presence follows purpose. Begin today with one tiny commitment, 30 minutes toward a project that scares you. Do it daily. In weeks you'll notice the difference. In months the world will notice you and refuse to backslide. If this hits something in you, good. That means it's time to rebuild, not react. Start moving with quiet purpose again. And if you're ready to keep growing into that unshakable version of yourself, subscribe, and let's rise together.